This is Arts Alive. I'm Lynda Phillippi. My guest is Dennis G. Hendricks, and Dennis is a photographer who's showing for the second time on the Art Harvest Studio Tour, coming up the first 2 weeks of October. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me this day.
I'm really excited to hear more about you and to see some of the images that you brought with you today.
Thank you very much. I'm ready.
So let's talk a little bit, give us a little bit of background about you before we start showing your images.
Okay, well, as soon as I can get a camera in my hands when I was a kid, that's what I did.
Really?
And it's been going downhill ever since.
Okay.
I've made a living off of photography for more than 30 years.
Wow.
Of which 10 and a half of them were as a photojournalist. Before that, I did advertising and corporate work. Mm-hmm. So I have a very extensive background in photography.
So when you say photojournalist, does that mean like freelance, or does that mean working for Newsweek?
At that time, I have done stuff as a stringer to be placed in, more, not local, but more national stuff. I worked for a newspaper, and I was a photojournalist doing their kind of reportage. So I would photograph anything from, I've been in brain surgery.
Wow.
And I've been to topping off of buildings. I've photographed the president 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
So all the executives in Silicon Valley have fallen behind my lenses. So I've got an extensive background in that. But then in 2008, I retired. And I decided to spend my retirement years traveling and doing photography.
Wow, that's amazing.
And just making images.
And didn't you say that you just came back from, or recently had a 75-day trip across the country? Tell me about that a little.
Well, every year I try to get out for at least a couple of months.
Oh, okay.
And this last one, the day after the Art Harvest tour ended last year, I was on the road.
You packed up the leftover cookies and hit the road.
I did. I even picked somebody up at the airport that could come with me for the first week.
How fun.
Yeah, and I travel on 2-lane roads. So, we went through some of the back country of Idaho and up into Montana, and then to Yellowstone.
Oh, that must have been beautiful. Oh. Was the weather nice?
It was the first day after the national parks had been reopened.
Oh, right. I remember that.
And I got there just in the nick of time.
Oh, wow. That's so amazing.
It was indeed. And then I continued across America, ending up in Virginia, swooping down through the South and across through national parks. I was in Monument Valley for 2 days, 3 days at the Grand Canyon over Christmas.
Do you camp, or do you just...
Yeah, I bed down every night in Best Western.
Oh, okay. The best kind of camping.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I know you brought some images.
Yes.
And so why don't we have Paul start rolling them, and you can talk us through them a little bit.
This is me and Lynda.
Oh, yeah. Fabulous.
Okay. One of the things that I wanted to see was this sculpture in Chicago, and it's in Millennium Park. It's done by an Indian named Anis Kapoor, and this is called Cloud Gate. This is a 60-foot by 30 feet tall. It's in the shape of a giant bean, and it's perfectly reflective.
Wow.
And so by being down there 2 nights as the sun was setting, to be able to get the sky so there's still light in it so it just doesn't go black.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Have to work and massage that light into a small window.
Yeah.
And so I'm there standing there for 2 hours just
massaging.
Happily pressing the trigger, hoping for the best.
I love it.
And
that's an incredible image.
Isn't that wild?
Yes.
And you can see on the lower part, because the whole of the bean is being photographed with no sundry at the bottom or anything. But you can see the line of the people that are there, and that's all reflection as the curved surface comes around.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So 3 days I went to the Grand Canyon. I was there for Christmas.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
I like to photograph just after dark or just after the sun sets.
That's just so beautiful.
What happens is the light flattens out, but it takes colors and it makes them extremely vibrant.
Gosh.
So this was not quite dark, but getting there. You can see a little bit of pink up at the top. That's the residual reflection of the sunset that had taken place a few minutes before.
Oh my gosh, that's just gorgeous.
Yeah, I love that one.
Do you, when you do these, do you do them big? Are they big images as you print them up?
These were printed up at, I think they were either 12 by 18
So
or
pretty good size.
16 by 24.
Yeah, nice big pictures.
I have one from the Devil's Tower the year before, and that's 3 feet.
Oh,
And that thing's spectacular.
I bet.
Because that one I waited for 4 days for the rain to stop. And the last night, I'm sitting up in the rain watching this thing go, oh, please, come on, come on, come on. And it opened up at sunset, and I just had a phenomenal image.
isn't that amazing?
Similar to this, only different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
That was a clearing
it's,
storm.
yeah, it's about waiting, right.
Yeah. I traveled around staying with friends and relatives if I could. And 5 days I spent in Virginia in the Blue Ridge Mountains at my cousin's house. And the last day that I was there, driving back down the road, the light and everything was just perfect. Ta-da. And so this was my cousin's driveway, basically.
So you just are famous for pulling over wherever you see a great image and just
Yes.
Pulling
I spend
over
a lot of time turning around and going back. Once the evaluation has been made in my mind, as I'm going, oh, that was the one.
that's
Yeah. So there we have it. When I was in Reno on my way back, the weather forecasted frozen fog
Okay.
in the morning. So a layer of fog, and it's all below freezing. So warm objects freeze the moisture around them, and because the fog is below zero rather than water in suspension, they're actually little ice crystals, hence it's fog ice.
Oh.
And they cling to surfaces. So all those power lines are frozen in this, encased in the fog ice. And now the fog is lifted. I just sat on the edge of the thing as I drove along the road, stopping
I can imagine, yeah.
turning around. And I do a lot of roads, and so this is a no-brainer. Well, it was.
You're right. I mean,
Yes.
how often do people see something like that? But I mean, it does make the point that you have to be there to capture the image.
Oh,
You just have to
yeah.
put the time on the road and go and drive and be,
Yeah.
you know.
In one of the earlier shows that I had back in the 70s, actually towards the end of the 70s, this one fellow was just adamant about following me around going, what camera did you use? And I said, Nikon. And he said, what lens did you use? And I said, whatever I had on the camera that day. He said, what kind of film did you use? Well, whatever film was in the camera. You know, I'm not a techie.
No, it's not about that.
No, it's about being there. Yeah.
You know, yeah.
And I told him that day, I said, there's 2 important, critical elements in photography that have to be adhered to. He goes, what's that? And I said, well, first, you got to be there. Second, you have to have a camera, and then you just push the button. Now, it goes a little deeper than that
Sure.
because composition
Of course.
is essential, and in composition, lines that travel around bring motion. So you have a 2-dimensional medium, you're trying to instill the essence of a 3rd dimension. So I take the viewer into the image rather than just let them sit on
Right.
the outside and shake their heads.
Oh, look at that.
Now, this wasn't from the trip. This was a few weeks ago. I have some friends who have a small farm outside of Amity. And we were out for a late afternoon, my roommate and I. And I went to change my glasses from my sunglasses to regular glasses. And this had been happening in the sky. I walked out to the car and I saw this barn in the next field. And I went, wow. If I get just so, the side of the building will have a reflection of the sunset in it. And so I meandered down the road, I dug out a camera and meandered down the road. And this was the one that was successful out of the 20 or so that I captured that afternoon.
Oh, that is an incredible picture. Oh, this is fun.
I told you that I do murals,
Right.
advertising murals. I've been concentrating somewhat on cola ads. I call it Cola Wars. So I have murals of Pepsi, 7-Up. Coca-Cola is rampant.
Of course.
I got a Hires root beer
Oh, wow,
a couple
fun.
weeks ago up in Portland.
Oh, how fun.
So if anybody knows where there's any cool murals, and I don't care what state they're in, just give me a call.
Oh, yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's just on a brick wall somewhere.
It is. This is in Oklahoma.
Okay.
I have done Route 66 in 4 separate trips. I've been on 4 national trips in the last 4 years.
Wow.
So each year adds to it. But some of it's duplicating the places I go because I have relatives to see. And
Right.
so I
Right.
can swerve
And
200
a hot
miles
meal.
out of the way. Yeah, that
Of course,
always
but I mean,
works
if you're
too.
going to be out on the road, people do want to see you. You
Yes,
know?
yeah,
So
definitely.
that's nice, and you can
Yes.
always find. I think you probably know this is true because I heard you say that you get to a town and then you just drive up and down.
Absolutely.
But sometimes you have to go a little bit deeper to find
Mm-hmm.
the image that you really want to see.
Well, James wanted me to tell this story.
Okay.
I was in Virginia with my cousin, and she takes me over to this small town in the Shenandoah Valley. We go through the town. I made some images, and pulling out of town, I go, once more through town. Now, pay attention. I'm looking for a 7-Up image. Turned around, and it's sitting right in front of me.
Isn't that funny?
It was just like asking you shall receive.
Exactly.
Dennis, you're doing good.
Dennis G.
G. Willikers.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
That image was from Stroud, Oklahoma, on
Okay.
Route 66, and it's Stroud Arts. And it appears that they've taken a section of the building that had a mural on it and repainted over it and freshened it up.
Okay.
You know, they're trying to recapture the glory of Route 66.
Right. Some of the nostalgia. And
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So towns are hiring artists to do murals.
That's
Pontiac, Illinois hired more than 100 artists to do 19 murals in their downtown area.
well, isn't that refreshing?
Oh, it's wonderful.
It is wonderful.
And this one that I found in an alley, it's a series of businesses, you know, with people looking out the window and standing there, but all from the 40s or so is
Fun.
the era. Tucumcari, New Mexico, that's another terrific
I remember
one.
Tucumcari, yes.
Yep.
We used to do that road when I was a child.
Oh, yes.
Yes, on the way to visit the relatives.
Of
So
course.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So here we're almost out of time, so we probably should talk about the fact that you are on the Art Harvest
I
Studio
am
Tour.
on the Art Harvest Tour.
You show in McMinnville.
I do. I have my home open as my studio and my studio is the world.
Okay,
So I have a gallery.
fabulous.
And last year I had, I think, 67 framed prints up
Nice.
throughout the house. And this year there's more.
Great.
Some from last year, naturally.
Well, of
The
course.
ones that didn't sell.
Well, they just hadn't found the right owner yet.
Indeed, I understand.
So thank you so much for being here
Oh,
today.
it was my pleasure.
And I can't wait to catch up with you again.
Well, this is terrific. Well, come to my house and see the show.
I would love to.
Come to my house.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.